Identity, the death of unity. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what identity is and what it is not, and how it can be a disservice to us and our day-to-day lives. But first, I'm asking all of you to subscribe who have not already. I'm pumping out one new video a week, which is going to help instill your life with some purpose, some pleasure, some joy, and just an all-around better, peaceful existence. So be sure to check those out from one week to the next and hit the notifications button so you're on the up and up when I release a new video. Also, please give me the thumbs up in this video after you've reviewed it and you think I've deserved it, and ask some questions in the comment section below. At the end of this video, I have a good little challenge for you, and I want to know what you've done to make the day of a stranger or a loved one better. So be sure to watch this video to the end and then let me know what you did to change the day and life of another person, whether it's a stranger or your loved one. I'm excited to learn what you did. Hopefully it's something cool that I haven't heard before. So before we get there, let's break down exactly what identity is so you can learn all about it and benefit from that discussion right after this introduction. Hi there, my name is JhN, and after suffering a tremendously difficult personal loss, I quit life as I knew it and began traveling the world, delighting in new and thrilling cultures and helping along the way where I could. Through endless hours of meditation, pouring over hundreds of books, and delving into the depths of my own mind, I finally discovered what I've been looking for: peace, purpose, and joy. I'm here to share what I've learned so that you too can discover all that I've come to know. So let's get to it and have a bit of fun along the way. There's this story of a man who, from the outside window looking in, seemed to have it all. He was well respected from his friends and his family, had good, strong relationships with them. He was educated, he owned his own business, and that was successful as well. He also was employed and was a valued employer. And he was adventurous and well-traveled, well-spoken, and he seemed like a nice, well-enough kind of guy, just a nice, adjusted, proper human being with a lot going on for him. If society was viewing this man, they deem all those identities as being quite valuable, and rightfully so. Then, one day, in one moment, and actually one single breath, everything changed for him. All of those identities ended with the passing of his wife. For he was no longer a husband. He was no longer her best friend or lover, or even the future father of her children. He was no longer a businessman or a valued employee. He up and left, and a lot of his relationships suffered, and he wasn't the family man and the loyal friend, and he wasn't even the owner of the two dogs, as he left them behind too, to go and grieve, to mourn, and to soul search and to heal. But the point being, in one breath, all of those identities that he worked so hard to establish and to nurture and to maintain were swept away from him. The man himself didn't change, although his health and wellness withered away little by little. But in that instant that his wife passed and those identities were no longer, his physical appearance didn't change. He didn't devolve into some subspecies. The thing that changed is his perspective, his mental consideration of himself. That's what changed in that moment. It completely shifted, because that's what identities are. They are perspectives. The story of that man is my own, and I suffered through that tremendously difficult time of losing my wife, but also all of the identities. At the time, I thought it was torture, and it was, because that's the way I saw it, is that all of these identities that I invested in building and maintaining and establishing were torn and ripped away from me. But when I look back now, I see that it was a liberation. And on the day that my wife took her last breath, and the days that were to follow, that were going to be extremely challenging and very, very raw and emotional, I learned over time that all those identities were a falsehood, because again, I was waking up every morning and I was going to bed every night, and I was living and breathing, and blood was pumping through my body, but yet those identities ceased to exist because they were never there in the first place. They were placards or trophies or medals that made me feel good, but it wasn't of anything of substance. It would be like giving a trophy to sunlight for being bright, or a medal to energy for being robust and forceful. It doesn't exist. We can't hold it and grip it. It's a way of ourselves negating our own insecurities and lack of self-worth. Because one of the worst things to happen is for someone not to have an identity. Then society would see that they are of no value whatsoever. Oh, you don't have a bachelor's degree, or you don't have a PhD, you don't even have a GED. Oh, what a scumbag you must be. What a worthless person. You must not be able to add any value to society whatsoever. And time again, those people that don't have those things, that don't have the children, or are not the spouse, or are not having 6 jobs and being super successful in business, show society time and time again that they have extreme, tremendous value. And equally hard and difficult and challenging of establishing identities is maintaining the ones you have and then adding new ones too, because everybody else is doing new things and being creative and growing and evolving, and so you had to keep up with the Joneses, and then you had to manage the ones. So if you were the husband, you had to be a better husband in the eyes of society through social media and posting this, that, and the other. And it was anxiety and stress and pressure because you needed to constantly secure and fortify these false identities to prove your worth. And I was tired, I was stressed, I was anxious, and I was crumbling from the amount of pressure of maintaining all this social facade for everyone else to view me, and so that I could feel good about myself. It was unsustainable, and it was fragile and fickle, and I could not do it any longer. And unfortunately, my wife passed, and I didn't have to, because all of that was swept away from me in a moment. You may be asking, well, identities can be good. If I'm a doctor and I'm proud of that, that's great. You can have an identity and it can lift you up and encourage you and inspire you. But up to a very certain point, does it do that? It's beyond that point that identities start to be the burden and to start turning our life into toxicity of judging others, of feeling either less than or more than. We're putting others down that are not part of our identity, and we're judging them for not understanding us or not being a part of our particular identity, having loyalty to a certain party, a certain political view, a certain faith, a certain color, a certain race. We're having identity with this stuff, and then we are segregating. We're having unification issues. We're putting people over there that don't belong in our group and other people over there that could not belong in our group. And that's where the problem comes in. That's where the negativity and toxicity pours in, that starts adding or decreasing the value of your life, of your peace, your purpose, your joy. So ask yourself a question. Can you cheer for the home team without judging, without being spiteful and malicious and rude and unkind and unpleasant and just plain mean to the visiting team? Can you lift up your own home team? Can you feel inspired by their performance, by being a part of them and wearing their colors, without judging the visiting team, without making them feel less than, to lift yourself up? That is the defining line. With all this talk about identity, have you asked yourself what you identify with? Is it your height or your weight, or the color of your skin, or the color of your eyes, or your background? Or is it your job, your career, your education? What is it, your income bracket, or your taxes at the end of the year that define you and identify you as a person? Or is it possibly your beliefs? That's probably what it is. It's your faith, your religious or spiritual beliefs, or your political views. Maybe that is what identifies us as people, as individuals. That question may take a bit more time to answer, and I encourage you to explore that and find that answer for yourself. Because what you may discover is that you have loyalty to an identity that doesn't really exist. If you're a high schooler and you graduate high school, what happens with that identity? If you're a virgin and you have sex, what happens with that? If you're an employee for one company and you transition, what happens? It just stops. Of course, because it never really existed, but we fight so hard to maintain and be loyal to those identities, to stand up for all of that stuff. And a lot of times we do it in a negative or toxic way by judging others who are not part of that identity. They are not associated with the values that we hold. We put them down while lifting ourselves up, and it's all for a falsehood. The moment we have to put down another to feel good about being loyal and protecting an identity, we've done a massive disservice to ourselves. We've taken ourselves out of peace and out of joy into a negative space. You can be loyal to your identity. You can be compassionate to others that are not part of it or don't have the same stances and views as you do. You can protect it and hold it up and encourage it to grow and inspire it to do so without ever pointing at another for being less than, without ever doing a judgment and comparison and feeling negative emotion about another's identity that doesn't fall in line with your own. It took the passing of my wife, the death of someone I loved so dearly for me to realize this, to learn that lesson. And now my loyalty to identity is to an emotion, it's to a value. I have dedication and loyalty to being compassionate. I have loyalty to having integrity, to being patient, to being understanding and empathetic and loving to others and to myself. I value morality in all aspects of life. That's where my loyalty stands. So I can be a better husband. I can be a better businessman. I can be a better employee or a better person all around without having to be loyal to a specific identity associated with that. I can have political or religious or faith values and beliefs without ever judging another whose beliefs and values don't fall in line with my own, because my value is in knowing that I'm going to evolve and grow, and I'm inspired to do so by being a better soul, a better spirit, a better human, by having the loyalty to those things, being more compassionate, being more patient, more understanding, empathetic, and more loving to myself and others. And having a stance such as this will have a tremendous ripple effect. It will have a benefit in all other aspects of our life, especially when we are looking at other people, because we won't quantify them just on their values, on their beliefs, and their faiths, and their political views. We'll see that they are much more than that, and that we don't need to judge them purely on that, because we don't want to be judged on that either. And so we are going to be free of our negative and toxic thoughts and assumptions and beliefs about them, therefore living more peaceful and compassionate lives. It would be like judging the glory of a sun on a cloudy day, or the mountains during an avalanche. We wouldn't look at that one instance and have a total viewpoint or stance about the glory of that situation, that being. So we can do that and look at others and see them for much more than the identities that they fight to maintain and hold, and go beyond that stuff and have compassion for who and what they truly are. Just another person trying to do their best to be something more and to live a loving, fulfilling life. And that's what we see them for, and that's powerful. That is love, and that's spreading the love of compassion and empathy and love through this community, through our world, and making a positive difference. And that's an identity you can be loyal to. That's a stance that you can stand there and be proud of for holding. That's value, that's love and compassion, and that's where I stand when I have identity with something, is being more understanding and being more forgiving and being more compassionate to myself and to others. So now we see that identity with one day, one moment, one breath will be completely washed away, whether it's our own or somebody else's. And I guarantee you that no matter what, when you look at that person, you won't think of their beliefs and their stances once they're not in your life anymore. You'll think of them for the love and the times that you shared together, and you'll see them for who they are. But do that now, here, while they live and breathe, and while you live and breathe. We have time to love them and appreciate them for much more than their identity, because with one breath, that's gone. But we can beat that. We can jump ahead and get there first. And then we're living a truer, more authentic, more mindful, compassionate, aware life. And we're being grateful and gracious and having a bunch of gratitude in our life for those that are in our life and for being a part of theirs. Because we're not identifying with anything but of being loving, compassionate beings. So this week, try this out throughout the week, day by day, is that when you're seeing the political stuff and then there's a toxicity on social media and the regular media and there's different religious views, and all it is segregation and putting negativity and space between us. Identity we're seeing is the death of unity. So you can make a firm stance and you say, I am compassionate. I am loyal to having integrity. I am humble. I am patient. I am forgiving. I am understanding. I am love. And I am loving. And that's the identity that you can be loyal to. And you'll say that throughout the week when you wake up after a meditation, or you're doing the dishes or taking a shower. Take some time to secure yourself in those properties, because you will always win. Because there is no limit to how compassionate you can be, or how patient, or how understanding, or how moral, or how happy you can be. So that's what you can invest in this week. And I always ask this of everybody who watches: if you can be unexpectedly kind to somebody this week, even today, you will be sure to make their day and yours as well, because they're not going to expect it, and they're going to tell all their friends about it, that this stranger did something super cool for me, and it's going to have that ripple out effect, and you're making the world a better place. So give it a go and let me know how it goes for you and what you did. Please share the story in the comment section below, and I'm wishing you a very good luck doing that. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.